In this video, we're going to take a unique approach to learning Flexbox by playing a game called Flexbox Froggy. This is Coding with Adam, and let's get to the code. If you enjoy my videos, please subscribe, like, and share. What is Flexbox? Well, Flexbox is a one-dimensional layout method for arranging items in rows and columns. Just a fancy way of saying let's create some really cool looking layouts. Some of the layouts you can create with Flexbox will look like this. For example, this layout over here has all its items in rows. However, if you're using Flexbox, you can easily switch this to something that looks like this using columns. This entire document over here, available on MDN, goes through all the mundane information that you need to use Flexbox. A little dry, a little bit boring. However, if we go ahead and play this game, it's a lot more fun to learn. This is Flexbox Froggy, a game where you help Froggy and friends by writing CSS code. Our goal is to get this frog over here onto this lily pad. The way that Flexbox works is we need to define a div or container element with display flex. So over here, they're showing us the basic CSS that they've added for flex to work on this pond over here. This whole blue area is the pond. Let me just show you something. If I open up the developer tools in Chrome and we look at the HTML, and let's take a look at this blue area. Now this blue area over here is defined with an identifier of pond, as we can see. And over here, we're selecting the pond and then applying display flex to it. If we look at the right-hand side over here at our styles and we look at that pond, we can see the display flex, and that's what they're showing us over here. And one last little thing to understand is that yes, there is this lily pad over here that our frog needs to get to, but that lily pad is not technically inside the pond div. It's actually beside the pond div. So if we go ahead and select this over here and we expand it, we can see there's a lily pad, and that lily pad is not inside the pond. Just something to understand. It's just a visual thing so that we can try and move the frog to the same location as where that lily pad is. That being said, let's get started. Here at level 1, they're introducing us to justify content. Justify content is used to move our frog on the horizontal axis, so left to right. And there are different ways that we can move our frog. We can move it to the start, which is the default location right now. We can move it to the end, which would bring us over here. We could move it to the center. So let's try this. So we have our pond and we have a display flex, and then we're going to add another property over here. We're going to add justify content. Let's try center and see where our frog goes. We can see that the frog goes to the center of the pond. However, we want to go to the end. So let's go to flex end, and that brings us onto the lily pad, and we can move to the next level. In the next level, we're once again using justify content to move our frogs on the horizontal axis, left to right. And we're going to be using the same properties that we have here. So once again, they give us this empty space to type into where we're going to type justify content. And if we go ahead and we try what we did before, and let's just try flex end, we'll see our frogs go to the end. But these lily pads look like they're in the center. Well, let's go ahead and put center. And there you go. We've made it to the next level. In the third level, we have 3 frogs and 3 lily pads. We'll be once again using justify content. The tips have been removed over here. However, you can hover or click on justify content and you'll get the values that you can use for justify content. Now, looking at this, it looks like this is going to be space between, space around, or space evenly. Let's go ahead and try space around. So we're going to do justify content as we did before, and we'll do space around and see what we get. So that was perfect. So space around is doing the even space around our frogs. So this frog is going to take up this much space and this much space. If we go ahead and take a look at our developer tools, we can go ahead and figure this out. So if we click on our lily pad over here and we look at the space over here, we can see that it's about this big over here. Looking over here, it looks like that space would be half, and then this space would be half. So each frog is putting equal amount of space on their left and their right, which gives it this effect over here. In the 4th level, we still have 3 frogs, and we're going to use justify content again, and we're going to use one of those space betweens or space around. So let's do justify content, and let's do space between. And there you go. Space between. So space between is putting equal amount of space between all of our frogs. In the fifth level, we get to actually move in a different direction. We've been moving on the horizontal axis, and now we get to move on the vertical axis using a property called align items. Some of the values for align items are similar, like flex start or flex end, center. However, we have two new ones, baseline and stretch. So let's focus on the ones that we can use over here. Well, looking at this over here, if we want to move on the vertical axis, we probably want to move to the end. So let's go ahead and try flex end. We're going to do align items, and we're going to go ahead and use flex end. Well, let's go to the next level. Level 6 is awesome simply because you need to center something on the screen. Have you ever needed to create a progress bar and you wanted to center it on the screen? Well, here you go. Look how easy it's going to be with Flexbox. We're going to go ahead and move our frog on the horizontal and vertical axis. We'll use justify content to move it on the horizontal. So justify content, and we'll put center. So our frog moves to the center. Then we're going to go ahead and use align items, and we're going to also put center. And there you go. We have our frog in the center of the screen. And now you know how to align something on a screen, whether it be a frog on a lily pad or a spinning processor. In level 7, let's go ahead and align our frogs to the bottom of the screen and on top of these lily pads. We're going to do the same over here. We're going to use justify content, and this time we're going to use space around. So let's give that a try. And that looks right. As you can see, they're lined up with the lily pads. Then we can go ahead and use align items for our vertical, and we'll go ahead and do that as a flex end. And there you go. Level 7 has been defeated. Level 8 introduces a new property called flex direction. As you can see, our lily pads aren't matching the order in which our frogs are. The green one over here, well, it's at the end over here, so we need to change the direction. So this over here is what we call a row. So this is a row of our frogs. And what we're going to do is we're going to use row reverse. So the items are placed in opposite to the text direction. So let's go ahead and try that out. So we're using this new property called flex direction, and then we're going to use row reverse. Try that out. And as you can see, it's reversed. Not only is it reversed in the order that the frogs appear, but every frog that was over here now starts on this side. So it goes green, yellow, red. If we remove that over there, then you'll notice that it goes green, yellow, red this way. So not only does it move it to the other side of the screen, it also preserves the order starting from the edge. So green is over here, then yellow in the middle, and then red over there. We'll put that back over there and go to the next level. The previous lesson that we just looked at is a little less common. This over here, what we're going to do now is way more common. Typically your data is either in a row like this by default, so one item after another on the same row, or you decide that you want to put it into a column. So over here, what we can do is we can change the flex direction so that we're going to change it to a column, just like our lily pads over here. So we'll put column over here, and then you can see that our frogs are now in a column. So they're going in this direction opposed to a row. Level 10 is really testing what we're doing over here. First thing we need to do is we need to reverse the order. We need this green frog to go to the end. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to use flex direction, and then we're going to use row reverse, just like we did in a previous level. So now red, yellow, green matches our lily pads. Then all we have to do is use justify content to move our items to, you would think it would be flex start because that's what it was before. But technically when we do row reverse, this is our start. We have to go ahead and use flex end. Then flex end is over here, and this is the start when you reverse the order. And yes, I agree with you. It is kind of weird. Lesson 11 is going to be another interesting one as well. So the first thing we need to do is get these frogs into a column. So let's go ahead and use flex direction of column. Then all we need to do is move our frogs to the bottom. Well, when this was a row, all we had to do was use align items and then tell it to use flex end. Well, that doesn't do exactly what we want it to do. So there's a note over here that tells us that when the flex direction is column, justify content changes to the vertical and align items changes to the horizontal. So therefore, instead of using align items, we need to use justify content. So justify content will move it this way when it's a column. When it's a row, it'll move it this this way on the horizontal. It definitely is a little bit confusing, and typically what happens when I'm using Flexbox and I haven't used it in a while is I just do this through trial and error and then remember what justify content means and what a line item means depending on the direction that I'm going. Level 12 throws in a little bit of a twist over here, so we're going to have to do a reverse column because we want our green frog to be on the green lily pad. Let's go ahead and do a flex direction, and we're going to do a column reverse. So our green frog will be at the bottom and red will be at the top. Then all we have to do is do justify content, and we're going to do space between. In level 13, let's go ahead and start with a flex direction. And we know that this is a row, but this is a row that needs to be reversed since red lily pad is first. Then we need to go ahead and center our items. So we're going to use justify content to go ahead and center it on the horizontal. Lastly, we can go ahead and use align items, and we're going to use a flex end to move them to the bottom of the pond. We'll do one last level, level 14. Level 14 introduces a new property called order. Order can be used to change the order of an individual item if you need to. So let's go ahead and try this. So for yellow over here, we can specify a number. By default, the order of all these frogs is 0, 0, 0. So we can change our number over here. If we go ahead and put -1 on the yellow, it's going to go to the beginning. The reason -1 puts yellow at the beginning is that it's counting from the lowest number to the highest number from left to right. So over here on the very left, we have -1. We could even make this -19 if we want, and you can see that it still stays on this side because it's lower than 0. So these two frogs are 0. So let's go ahead and put that back to 0 over here. When it's 0, the yellow frog will be on the red lily pad here. So maintain the order that they're in because all of them are 0. So all we have to do is make this into a positive. So we can make that 1 and it goes to the end. We can make this number 99 and it goes to the end, as long as it's bigger than these two numbers over here. I encourage you to go ahead and try the rest of these levels. And also let me know in the comments, what do you think about Flexbox Froggy? If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, like, and share. As a bonus, I'm going to go ahead and complete the rest of the levels, including the very last level, which is extremely difficult.